But joining me today is a guy I've had on my show twice, the one and only Bitboy Crypto. Give it up for Bitboy. Come on out. Let's go. Come on. Let's hear it. Let's hear it.
What's going on? How's it going?
Booyah, booyah.
Booyah.
Great to have you here. If you don't know much about Bitboy or Ben Armstrong, as you know, he has, I think, over 5 million subscribers across all your channels.
We have 3 million followers on TikTok in Purgatory, where TikTok has stolen my followers. We were at 6 million total overall. So we're the first people in crypto to get over 5 million. So it's an honor, and it's something that's really cool. We've got almost 1 million on Twitter, 1.5 million about on YouTube, Instagram about 500,000, and then TikTok we've got they're holding our TikTok hostage. So.
And you've been broadcasting about crypto for how many years now?
So first video I made was January 2018, the best time to get into crypto, the beginning of the bear market, been making news videos every single day, multiple videos since March of 2018.
Fantastic. And I think between the two of us, we got over 10 million followers. I run London Real, been having conversations for about 11 years now. Last year and a half, we went heavy into crypto. Ben's been on my show twice before. You can go watch those as well. And like I said, tonight we're going to take the gloves off, because I know Ben doesn't mind giving you his real opinion about what's going on out there. A lot of things I want to talk about, but first of all, how you feel in Dubai. You're the typical American, and by the way, I'm American as well, who this is your first time across the Atlantic.
It is, yeah.
And your first time in Dubai.
Yeah. I think Dubai's been great so far. I really enjoyed it. We did a desert safari yesterday, and that was a lot of fun. We did sandboarding. Was with Altcoin Daily with the brothers from there. Just so you guys know, I did make it further without following than they did. I don't know if they're in here right now, but they would admit that's true. So I am ranked #1 when it comes to sandboarding with them. But rode a camel.
Yeah. How was that?
I'm very partial to long-necked animals. I love long-necked animals. Giraffes are a great animal. A giraffe weighs 4,000 pounds, just in case you were wondering.
I didn't know.
Yeah. So, but it's been a good time. The roads and the traffic laws here are very interesting because they're very similar to America. I've been to some other countries where you feel like every moment you're going to die because nobody obeys the traffic laws. And so, very similar to see, and a lot of bad traffic here too, just like in Atlanta where I'm from. So.
Yeah, so you love the roads. You're looking down. I'm looking up. I see all the buildings.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much my first time here. I was here 15 years ago. That doesn't really count. But I've been very impressed. Everyone seems really focused here, pro-business. The government seems like they're on point, and they want to always be getting better. It just reminds me like they're trying to run the place like a business, which I think is amazing. I want to jump into it because you got a bunch of opinions on a bunch of things happening in crypto, and I thought I'll just jump in right now and ask you about something you said recently. You said, I think, that the merge of Ethereum was the single most important event in crypto history.
Yeah.
First of all, how many people agree with that statement? Hands up. Come on, hold them up.
Some smart people.
Okay, how many people disagree?
Some are smart.
Come on, what are those Bitcoin maximalists?
There they are.
There's Max Kaiser in the back.
Oh, God, Max Kaiser.
Where is he?
I thought he was doing Russian
Max.
TV,
But that's a bold statement. Why did you say that? Obviously, it's come and gone, but why did you say that?
Well, I mean, the effect of it has not even been felt yet, So, yes, it came and went the same exact way that the Bitcoin halving comes and goes every 4 years. And people that say the Bitcoin halving doesn't matter, like, number one, they don't understand economics. Number two, they can't see, historically what's right in front of their face. Look, the Bitcoin halving cuts production in half of Bitcoin every 4 years. So, I mean, if you were to do that math, I think we've done the first one. You had 2012, you had the actual halving, you had 2016, you had 2020. So basically, the long and the short of it is, we've cut the rate of production of Bitcoin since the very beginning to like 12.5%. Like 12.5% of the initial amount that was being created, what's being created on a daily basis right now. The Ethereum merge that just occurred, it's not a cyclical event. It's a once-in-a-lifetime event, and it just cut the inflation rate down 95%. So now there's 5% as much Ethereum that's being, minted or created as was in the, standard every year previous to this. So when you really think about that and you add in EIP 1559 that was obviously implemented last year, that when that was implemented, it had an immediate real effect on the burning of Ethereum, and that is what led to the Ethereum all-time high last year. I think it was in was within 2 months of that event. It started ticking up immediately the week after. It was in August of last year. Started ticking up, and then of course I think October was when Ethereum hit its all-time high. I don't think it was November. I think it was October if I remember correctly. But the point here is this. The point is EIP 1559 burns Ethereum when Ethereum is at the highest levels of congestion. When are people the most interested and they're the most traffic and most trading on Ethereum? Well, when the price is going up and it's at the highest level of congestion. Like, obviously in the bull run, if you consider the amount of Ethereum users to the amount of Ethereum users today, is drastically different. You can go look at the OpenSea, don't like OpenSea, but you go check out the OpenSea numbers and see the NFT users are way, way, way down. So now that the merge has been implemented, and now we've got the inflation rate cut 95%, the same amount of Ethereum that would be created in 20 years, or in 1 year now, today, is the equivalent of what was on track to be created, every 20 years now. Now it's going to be, 20 years, X number of Ethereum is going to be created. That used to be created every single year. Things like, 4%, something like that. And so the fact is, now, the inflation rate has came down. Virtually no Ethereum is being created compared to what was in the past. And now, because of EIP 1559, you're literally burning it when people are the most interested. So when the price finally does start going up and we get in the bull run, what's going to happen? This is the effect. It's not the day that it happened that matters. It's the effect of the combination of EIP 1559 with the dropping inflation rate. This is going to mean when Ethereum is going up in price and people are the most excited, literally more Ethereum is going to be burned, and the number of total Ethereum, while the price is going up, is going to literally be dropping right in front of our eyes. Right. And that's a combination that people have never seen before. Once in a lifetime event, this next bull run for Ethereum is going to be the end-all bull run for Ethereum.
So a lot of people are wondering, where's the price action on the back of the merge?
Yeah.
Did that surprise you or not? Because it kind of fizzled.
Yeah, of course. Look at the Bitcoin halving. Bitcoin halving occurred in May of 2020. What happened? Leading up to that day, I think it was May 14th, I think if I remember correctly, maybe it was May 11th, somewhere around there. The day before the Bitcoin halving, the Bitcoin price, I think spiked up to like 10,900. It had been hovering around, it dropped down obviously to 3,900 the pandemic in March. So as it led to the halving, the price started going up. It actually peaked the day before the halving, which is really interesting. And then it dropped, I think it dropped from about 10,900, somebody can go check these numbers, to I think about 8,900, dropped like $2,000 almost. It dropped back down below 9,000. Did that mean that the halving didn't have an effect? No. Then the price stayed sideways for the entire summer. For the entire summer, it hovered right between about $9,000 and $10,000. But then what happens? The supply shock hits, the compound effect of the halving starts kicking in, and then all of a sudden in September starts ticking up, right? So the Bitcoin halving traditionally leads to it always leads to a new all-time high for Bitcoin the same year, but not immediately. The all-time high in 2017 was in December, obviously, but it set its new all-time high. Maybe it wasn't the same year. I think it set the new all-time high in February of 2017, if I remember correctly, but it was within about 6 months of the halving approximately. So 6 to 8 months after the halving, you're looking at a new all-time for Bitcoin. Then you get the ultimate high about a year later approximately, somewhere around there. So we've just seen it so consistently over time.
And you think similar timing for Ethereum with the merge?
No, it's not similar. It's not going to be similar.
It's going to take longer.
It's going to take longer.
Okay.
It's a once-in-a-lifetime event. It's going to lead, in my opinion, to a bigger price action, but Ethereum is not going to move independently of Bitcoin. It's just not going to, right now it's not going to. When Ethereum eventually passes, who in this audience, like how many of you guys believe that eventually the Bitcoin market cap will be passed by Ethereum?
Just show of hands.
Yeah.
Okay.
About 25% of you guys are really, really, really smart. I like it. The rest of you are great too. I love
show of hands. Just raise your hand if you think Bitcoin will always have a higher market cap than Ethereum. Okay, Max is in the house.
A little bit more, okay.
Respect.
It's respectable.
Okay, and
we're trying to teach you guys.
What year is that happening? Just, I'm asking.
Oh, it's happening in 2025.
25.
Yeah,
okay.
It's happening in 2025.
Guys, like,
yeah, 2025 is
the
going to happen.
secret Ethereum society.
It's all too predictable. Like this.
25 is when it's happening.
It's so predictable.
Okay, why
it's always
25?
been predictable. The number, picking where the Bitcoin all-time high, like what it actually hits, we haven't done a great job of that. But time frame of when these things should happen based on the Bitcoin cycle, It happens. What's going to happen is after Ethereum passes Bitcoin in market cap, it's going to completely change the entire space. Completely change the entire space. No longer will altcoins, which I don't consider Ethereum to be an altcoin anymore. I think if you consider Ethereum to be an altcoin, like you literally go by the definition of any coin other than Bitcoin, I don't think that's going to age very well. Bitcoin and Ethereum have made it. They've both made it. There's no question about it.
Blue chip coins. We call them blue chip coins,
yeah,
right?
blue chip coins. I don't think there's any other ones right now. There are some that have potential, but once this happens, why does Ethereum follow Bitcoin? Why do altcoins follow Bitcoin? Because there's not enough confidence in those assets that they can make it on their own yet, even with Ethereum. When Ethereum does pass Bitcoin in market cap, now people are going to say, oh my gosh, everything's not tied to Bitcoin. They actually have their own merits, and that's when things are going to get really interesting, in the space, because that's when being able to predict everything very easily actually probably ends.
Yeah, just to wrap up on Ethereum, there's one other crucial piece here, is that there's a real yield component and a yield curve being built on Ethereum now. So you can stake it, and now it's an asset that bears a rate of return, which means a whole nother area of investors can now start looking at this asset. Bitcoin doesn't have those properties.
Right.
Can you speak on that?
Yeah, well, Ethereum just has way more to offer in general than Bitcoin. Look, and I know, Brian, I know you come from a more traditional investment background than I do. I just stumbled into all this. Like, I never invested in anything. Even when I bought Bitcoin initially, it was an investment. It was to use to purchase a software. So this is all new to me. I don't know a lot of traditional investors. How many people do you know outside of what you do that invest in gold? How many people in your personal life do you know that invest in gold? Not a lot. Some, right? There's some. I know a couple. Vast majority of people I know are into crypto, right? But the point is, if you look at the value of Bitcoin, the value of Bitcoin is it goes up in value, right? That's its main proposition, actually. That's why it's dumb to spend Bitcoin. Unless you're at the top, you want to take profits, that's fine. But the fact is, Bitcoin just doesn't offer much outside of being a hedgeable asset, which is great when you're in this and you understand the fiat system is collapsing and yada, yada, yada. You understand the benefit of investing in a hedgeable asset. But there's only so many people that want to do that. It's actually a niche within a niche. If you look at other types of investments that are much more speculative, that offer things like you look at stocks that have, what do they call the stocks where you invest in it and it gives you back money every quarter or something?
The dividends?
The dividends.
Yeah.
You see how little I know about stocks? I could care less about stocks.
Yeah, I believe you.
Yeah, I could care less. It doesn't, it means nothing to me. Like dividends, right? Well, it's more beneficial to invest in the ones that are dividends because it offers you more. I think Ethereum is the same way. I think a lot of the other altcoins are going to be the same way. They offer a lot more ways for you to make value than just taking it and letting it sit there. It's kind of like almost like a bank savings account. Like you get a savings account, you put money in there, it grows like a tiny, tiny, tiny bit, but that's it. You're not really making big returns on it. And I think with a lot of these other assets, especially with staking on chain, by the way, don't ever, I think we all understand this now, right? Don't ever use a third party to stake, ever. Like, that's the dumbest thing you can possibly do. Speaking from the dumbest person ever who had way too much money in Celsius and lost it all. So the third party staking is no good. On-chain staking, getting a validator node, Cardano staking pool. We have a pool, the Bit pool, for Cardano staking. Like, these are safe things because you still own your private keys and you still own your crypto. You can't give up your private keys to your crypto. That's something that we definitely know by now. But I think Ethereum, when you just look at the space in general, it's got way more to offer. Like, one of the biggest industries in the world is the banking industry, right? A lot of money in the banking industry. Which do you think there's more money in? The banking industry or the internet? There's way more money in the internet. Guess what all the bankers use? The internet. So when you look at Ethereum as the decentralized, Web3 is Ethereum. Web3 is Ethereum, right? I mean, people might try to tell you something different. At this point, without Ethereum, Web3 is not even a thing. Right? How much are y'all using Solana Web3? Cosmos Web3. I like Cosmos, but nobody. No one. Like, maybe Sam Bankman-Fried and I don't know, the people that he pays to use Solana. Maybe they're using it. But in general, Web3 is Ethereum. The decentralized web, that is Ethereum. So it just has way more to offer and way more potential. When you look at the yields as well, it's just so much massively better offering than Bitcoin. But I love Bitcoin. Don't get me wrong. Bitcoin's great, but
Yeah, look, and I want to get into a few L1s later, and we can talk about the ones that you think are important and not important. But this is a big move, and a lot of players are saying that they're just charting the future. I spoke to Sandeep from Polygon recently, and I've never seen so much swagger in that guy's step. You know, a year ago I had him on the show, and you know, Polygon was a thing, and now he's like, look, Brian, this is ours to lose. We've got this.
Yeah.
No other L1 is even a chance. I was like, really? So they're very bullish on what they have. Post-merge, they think they can own this, and they're cutting deals left, right, and center. Starbucks one day, Disney the next day. So clearly Ethereum is moving as one of the big movers, but a few other L1s are relevant, and I want to get to those. I also want to address Celsius and some of the other big crashes this last year, because we knew a lot of those people involved. But we got midterm elections in America coming up November 18th. What does that mean for crypto? What does that mean also for the future regulation of crypto?
It's the 8th, I believe.
8th, okay, November 8th.
It's the 8th. It's the.
Yeah, you're right.
Do you want to know when the elections are? It's a weird rule. It's a funky rule. It's the first Tuesday of the month that follows a Monday.
Okay.
So if a Tuesday's on the 1st, it can't be on the 1st. Does anybody know why? It's a holiday, All Saints Day. I've looked this up on my channel. It's really crazy because I couldn't understand, like, why do they do that? There's a holiday called All Saints Day, and for whatever reason, people that even know that's a thing, which I didn't, they won't vote on that day. So they moved it to the 8th. It's the first Tuesday following a Monday. So this year, Monday's the 1st, so it's going to be on Tuesday, or the 1st is a Tuesday, so it's on the 8th. Yes, midterm elections have traditionally, and by traditionally I mean literally always, as long as Bitcoin has been a thing, which is not a huge timeline, it bottoms 3 to 5 weeks after the midterm elections. And so I think we're going to be looking at that again. I'm looking at a lot of different scenarios on how that's going to work and how that's going to happen. I think that, I can speculate about why. I've got several different reasons. I think if you look at the Fed and you look what's going to happen with the Fed, I think that also plays into it. Right now, they're getting so much pressure around the world to stop raising rates. But Jerome Powell is like, no, we're still going to raise them, guys. Screw y'all, which is, that's our American attitudes, whatever. But the problem is eventually continuing to raise the rates and piss the world off is going to have a counter effect on us to where now countries don't have as much money to buy as many things from us. And I think we're walking that line. So I think we get one more raise in November. And I said all year, I believe December is when they stop raising rates. So 3 to 5 weeks after midterm elections, that pretty much seems to line up with that. I think we're going to get a bottom after the midterm elections, and then they're going to come out in December and announce they're not going to raise any more rates. Kathy Wood today sent a letter to Jerome Powell saying, please stop raising rates. The UN last week said, please stop raising rates. Everybody's saying stop raising rates. And so I think the timeline's really interesting because if we bottom after midterm, and then we get that announcement they're not raising rates, the DXY officially tops around 120, probably around that time, and then it moves down drastically, falls below the trend line. Now we've established a bottom. When those things happen, there's no way we're not at the bottom for the stock market, for Bitcoin, for the whole thing. So I do think the midterm elections factor into this. I think that also Gary Gensler is trying to make like super, super, super power grabs here, land grabs towards the end of what is going to be his power. He's going to be out next year. I'm virtually positive of that. His own staff is turning on him. I don't know if you've seen that. I know from talking to politicians, people in the Senate, they don't like Gary Gensler. That's why there's a bipartisan bill. Do you know how hard it is to do a bipartisan bill in America? How hard it is? It's almost impossible. They hate each other. Like, they literally, when you become a congressman or a senator, they literally walk you into a partisan room and say, okay, if you agree with any of this stuff, like, you just got to vote against it because that's not what we stand for. Like, that's crazy. Bipartisan, the Senate came out and said, hey, you know what? Actually, we want Bitcoin and Ethereum to not be a security officially. It's only to screw Gary Gensler. Like, that's literally what the John Boozman bill is, a FU Gary Gensler bill, and the Senate's behind it. So,
and a little background. Obviously, Gary recently came out and said that pretty much they're all securities, and then called out some very specific ones that then were unlisted by Coinbase. Right? You got another mic there coming up.
Oh, cool.
And so it's hard to know, like, what people think about Gary Gensler. You think that they're coming after him. And again, bipartisan, they can rarely agree on anything, but they want him out. Gary's a very strange guy. I took his course at MIT, which is online for free. Anybody can take it. YouTube, it only takes 24 hours. And the most frustrating thing about Gary is he's extremely knowledgeable about crypto, about blockchain. He really understands these networks. And yet he seems to be running for office as the chairman and using a really blunt instrument to scare the hell out of people to not using crypto and not innovate with crypto. And he's just doing these blanket statements that's just going to stop innovation and probably bring it all here at the end of the day. Since you brought up Gary, any more details as far as Gary and the SEC?
Well, he sucks. He sucks as a human. He's about as bad as you can get.
I told you, no holds barred.
No, I mean,
screw
Gary Gensler. Like, this guy, the fact...
But he's protecting the American people from dangerous securities.
No, that's not what it is.
No.
He thinks you're an effing idiot. He thinks you're stupid.
Can I just give a show of hands? How many people here you think the SEC is an important institution that needs to still look out for consumers?
Well, look, I love Georgia football.
Okay, there's a few out there. Okay. I mean, it was created in the 1933 Securities Act. I had to take my Series 7 and Series 63 when I became a banker on Wall Street. We learned about the Great Depression and the bad things that were happening back then. Of course, back then there wasn't the internet, like I don't think. There wasn't education.
Computers weren't even a thing when the securities law was created.
They had to protect people.
Yeah.
Now it feels like there's a guy in a poorly funded institution that doesn't have enough money to even regulate everything, that's trying to scare everybody from not scamming people and therefore throwing the baby out with the bathwater and not allowing some great protocols to innovate.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if any of you guys have... How many of you guys are from America? Literally nobody? There's like 6 people. America!
All right, there we go.
In America, especially in the
South... So we'll tell you a little bit about America.
Especially in the Southeast, where I'm from. I'm from Atlanta, Georgia. Growing up and going into high school, the big event every single year was you went to spring break in Panama City, Florida. Like, that was where you went. That's where all the kids went. You went there to party. It's where people, like, drank their first beer and went to jail for the first time and, got somebody pregnant for the first time, Like, all that stuff happens in Panama City. It's the number one thing you want to go do,
Did you do all this?
No, no. I did not get anyone pregnant until I was married.
Did you do some of this?
Maybe.
Okay.
Maybe.
Jail, beer, no pregnancy.
No pregnancy.
Okay,
no pregnancy.
cool.
So the thing is to get from Atlanta to Panama City, there's a very specific route you have to go. And you have to go through very rural parts of Alabama. And Alabama, like its football team, is known famously for being backwards. Sorry, that was a shot at their football team. But the fact is, there's very small towns down there. You're going on this road, you can go 65, 55 miles an hour, and then all of a sudden, it's 25. You only go 25 miles per hour, which I don't know is like 740 kilometers an hour. I don't know the conversion. But the fact is that there's 2 towns on this route. One is called Dothan, Alabama, and one is called Eufaula, Alabama, okay? Their entire economy is based on them pulling people over and giving people speeding tickets. That's what we call it, a speed trap. That's why they do it. When you are going to Panama City, if you are going 27 miles an hour, if you're going 2 miles per hour at speed limit, they're going to pull you over. They're going to give you a ticket. Their economy depends on them enforcing the rules that they made up to get your money so they can run their government. They love the fact everybody from Atlanta drives through this town. That is what Gary Gensler and the SEC is. All they know how to do is enforce. That's where their entire budget comes from. Look at their budget compared to the CFTC's. It's insane. The CFTC doesn't do regulation by enforcement. Gary Gensler is motivated by money and his banker friends, as he's from Goldman Sachs, which is why he understands it. He understands it from the inside because he's trying to destroy it, I would argue. But the fact is, without him handing out these tickets and these enforcements, they don't get to create as much money. And they also, with the Kim Kardashian thing, right? Why do you think they went after Kim Kardashian? Because she's a bad person? Because she didn't disclose correctly? No. If you think Kim Kardashian paid that fine, then you don't know how things work. I guarantee you her lawyers paid that fine for her. Because I guarantee you, she asked them, well, how do I do this the right way? And they told her. But they worked out a deal with the SEC for news coverage. That's why Kim Kardashian, she didn't do anything freaking wrong. She really didn't do anything wrong. She said ad. She said that it's promoted. She did all the things you're supposed to do. But Gary Gensler used Kim Kardashian for coverage to continue to push this. It's like he's running for president or something.
Yeah, I think he is. And he put a video out right afterwards.
He's such a slime ball. I hate him so much.
About that and just saying, look, you're not allowed to do these things without checking with the SEC. Look, he does act like a politician. He did
But
run,
if you
he ran Hillary's campaign.
If you do check with the SEC, though, just like Ripple did, just like Brad Garlinghouse, if you do check with them and they say it's okay, then they still come after you and sue you. These guys, they don't play by any rules. They make them up as they go. That's what's so frustrating.
Yeah, and lately he's been doing a lot of threatening things. He was quoting, I think, John Kennedy, who said, no honest man needs to fear the SEC. It was some real old school dark stuff. So just to conclude on SEC, you think it's only a matter of time before he's out of the office, and you think he'll be appointed by someone that, well, can't get any worse, I guess, but maybe will be more crypto friendly?
Well, I would say I know for a fact that there are plans, there are some legislations and regulations that are right now being pushed that will fix all this and take all the power away from the SEC when it comes to crypto. But you also have Sam Bankman-Fried and FTX and what they're trying to do behind the scenes, which is create a federal bit license in the United States, like what's in New York City, and that will cripple the industry. So you kind of have like dueling regulation going on right now in the United States. Both of it will sidestep the SEC, but one of them is very bad, evil, dark days for the United States kind of stuff when it comes to innovation, and one is create a digital asset commission where there is a series of members from possibly the CFTC, possibly legal scholars, and then possibly people in crypto, which makes sense. You actually have people in crypto making crypto regulation, working together with the government, not working against the government. There are, in fact, plans for a bill or an amendment like that to be able to push crypto where it needs to be. But like I said, you have competing narratives where you have people like Sam Bankman-Fried and Brian Armstrong that want to create an environment in the United States where only centralized exchanges win, because guess what? They're the two biggest centralized exchanges.
Right. Okay. A couple more questions when it comes about this. I want to move on to some other L1s and a couple of events that happened this year. Will the next president of the United States run on a pro-crypto platform?
Well, yes. Because I believe that the next president of the United States will most likely be Ron DeSantis, I think.
Really?
I mean,
the current governor of Florida, who's been
Joe
very
Biden
pro-crypto.
can't win again, right? I mean, everybody thinks he's an idiot.
But we're seeing elected politicians, and Gary's not elected.
Right.
They're all going the way of crypto because it's how they get votes. And I did run to be the next mayor of London last year, and I know that you want votes. That's what you want. You care about votes and budgets.
Yeah.
And going against crypto right now is a way not to get elected. Period. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And Ron DeSantis in Florida has already allowed the state of Florida to pay their taxes in crypto, so he's shown to be crypto friendly. He's on the Republican side of our politics. Obviously, Donald Trump is on the Republican side as well. He's anti-Bitcoin, so he's said nothing but negative things about Bitcoin. I hope at this point he doesn't run again, because Ron DeSantis is pro crypto, and I would like to see him win probably. Now Joe Biden's actually very neutral on crypto. He hasn't actually done anything super negative on the crypto world. He hasn't done anything super positive either, which is kind of his thing, right? Just trying to stay in the middle on everything. He doesn't really get anything done effectively. So I mean, the choice between someone that's pro crypto. Look, guys, I'm a one-issue voter. If my industry and my life is crypto. So if you're against crypto, I'm against you. If you're mad on crypto, I'm mad on you. If you are pro crypto, yeah, let's vote that mother effer in.
There we go. That's how you get Bitboy Crypto's vote, if you're watching. All right, a couple more things. You mentioned the lows are coming in December. What's the low on Bitcoin? Just tell us, just between us here. What is it?
Just between the two of us.
Just between the two of us.
Okay, so the 85% drawdown, which we traditionally get, is $10,366 from the top.
$10,366
From the top.
From the top.
That's an 85% drawdown. I don't think we're going to get that low. Everybody has the range $10,000 to $14,000. I feel like we kind of came out with that range back in April when we called it officially a bear market in April. Up until that point, like, there were some things you could make some arguments. Maybe things would break differently, but it's broken the same way it's always broken in a bear market. And so we put out the $10,000 to $14,000 range. A lot of people have jumped on that. Other people who study the cycles can obviously come to that conclusion as well. So many people believe that range now that I am kind of starting to believe that it's going to be the upper end of that range. I'm really looking 13,500 to 15,000, because I think once it dips into that range, everybody's going to freaking jump on it. So there certainly is an opportunity for a black swan event, whatever it might be. But with as bad as things have been the last couple of months, Ukraine thing that's going on right now. I mean, I know it's been going on, but you guys know it just got elevated. I think that Bitcoin has shown it's really, really strong during this time. And so I think when it does dip, I think it does dip below 17.5, the low, or 17.6. I just don't see it dropping dramatically much lower than that. I know there's people out there that think 3,000, 8,000. I think it's definitely possible to wick down into the high nines, but where I'm stacking the most of my buy orders is in the $13,000 to $14,000 range.
Okay. And just for the record, a year ago, I had been on my show, and he said the bear market's coming, and nobody was saying the word bear. Not even at the zoo, they weren't saying the word bear.
You didn't think it.
No, I didn't think it. But you were saying, look, prepare. I've been through this before. I got lost money on Mt. Gox. I've seen this. So, it's good to hear you talking about levels when it comes to this. All right, you just said everything is Ethereum. The web is Ethereum, but there's still some L1s out there that have relevance and will still build things. Top 10 L1s in your mind that we should keep an eye on going forward. And these are layer 1 protocols that people are building things on that have booths right here. What are the ones to look for? What are the ones to ignore?
Yeah, I think I hate to throw like certain coins and communities under the bus. I really hate to do it. But I just think when you're looking at current L1s, like, you look at Solana as a money printing machine. Sam Bankman-Fried is an evil mad scientist who has nothing but bad intentions but knows how to make money. Solana is good from a money perspective only. Like, Solana is not a serious L1. Like, I don't know if you guys can tell. It has paused, I think, 9 times this year. At least 8 or 9 times this year alone. They've paused the blockchain. Like, that's not how that's supposed to work, right? If you look at Binance Smart Chain, BNB Chain, I think they rebranded it, whatever it is. They also asked their validators to pause. Not exactly the same thing as a centralized network pausing, but Binance Smart Chain was built to be centralized, so it's a little bit different. Binance Smart Chain is going to be around. BNB Chain is definitely going to be around. People are going to be able to create tokens on it, but to me, it's kind of its own thing. Like, you got to look at Binance and Binance Chain kind of together, okay? Right. When you're looking at decentralized L1s, I don't think there's 10 to look at.
5? Okay.
I think you're looking at number 1, Ethereum, obviously. Number 1 is Ethereum. It's Ethereum's game to lose. Ethereum must, for anything to catch Ethereum, something has to mess up. It has to take them much longer, which I think is going to take them 10 years to create, to really roll out. They just did the merge. Then they got, the purge, the verge, the splurge, the words, the dirge, the furge, everything they got there. I think it's going to take them 10 years to roll out. I think it's going to take them 5 years to roll out sharding, which is next. So it's going to be a long time. So there is room for people to catch up, but they've got to really execute well. Ethereum has to not execute well to lose. Everybody's got to understand that. If you're looking at an L1, you're like, this has superior, like the ICP people, which I'm not an ICP person, but they're so adamant that their tech is the very, 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 very best, and it's going to work. And the best tech isn't even what it's really about. Like, what hamburger place? What place in America sells more hamburgers than any other place?
It's McDonald's.
It's obviously McDonald's. Go ask anyone what their favorite burger is, and they're not going to tell you McDonald's, right? So just because they have the best tech or the best process, that doesn't mean they're going to win. You really have to have a combination of working dApps. You have to have developers. You have to have a somewhat easy way for developers to do their work, a cheap way for them to do their work. You have to have a strong community that's going to use the dApps, right? I mean, did y'all see the Decentraland story? Anybody see that? Decentraland, multi-billion-dollar metaverse platform, the number 1 ranked metaverse by a long shot. It's backed by Digital Currency Group. That backs, Coinbase. CoinDesk is owned by them. Invest in Ripple. Like, almost all the top companies in crypto, they're behind in some way, form, or fashion. And they have, I think they said 27 daily users on their multi-billion-dollar platform, right? You can build something great, but if you don't get people to propel to use it, it's not going to matter. So taking all that into consideration, looking at layer 1s that I really like, obviously, Ethereum number 1, Cardano number 2.
Cardano, you're off to Colorado in a couple days.
Yeah, I'm going to Rare Bloom. I'm going to be with Charles Hoskinson out there, talking about Cardano and the community. And our NFT wing, NFT Alpha, they just minted, a Cardano NFT project, JPEG Junkies. We love Cardano. We think Cardano is going to be really great. It's got the best opportunity by far to pass Ethereum. It doesn't mean it'll happen, though, but they have the best opportunity.
Why? Why do they have the best opportunity?
Well, if you look at the makeup of their users and their community, look, there are 2 coins out there that their communities are more invested from a time perspective, from a knowledge perspective, from an educational perspective, from a community perspective than anything else out there. It's a Cardano community, and it's the XRP army. No other communities touch those. Like, where's the Cosmos army? Where's the Solana knots? Like, where are they at? They don't exist. So the Cardano community is people that passionately care about that project. Look at the way that the tokens were distributed. 70% of Solana went to VCs. 70%. When you want to talk about a tale of 2 cryptos, you want to talk about, was the best of times, was the worst of times, you just compare Cardano to Solana, and you see what crypto is supposed to be about, and you see what crypto is not supposed to be about. One, decentralized, strong community, creating dApps. It actually works. Like, they had congestion problems for a couple weeks when they launched the smart contracts. It's solved. They fixed their congestion problems in a couple weeks. It took Ethereum 5 years to do it. So Cardano's off to a great start there. And you look at the community and their involvement, and they want to use the dApps. The dApps on Cardano are not quite where they're going to be. There's some that work well. You have the Sunday Swap Exchange. You have the NFTs on Cardano are great. I think Cardano NFTs are the best NFTs. I said that on Twitter. I really do believe that. But the fact is that it still has to actually get dApps with a ton of users to really be able to start pushing the narrative. And, obviously the Vassal hard fork, it created a lot more opportunities for, some innovation on Cardano, made it faster, officially took the gloves off, officially decentralized now Cardano is. So I think Cardano's got the best opportunity. But just to run through some other ones really quick.
Algorand comes to mind. I've had Sylvia McCauley on the show.
Yes.
They're doing some big things with FIFA. They're buying Napster with the guys at HiveMind. And then AVAX comes to mind as well.
AVAX is meh.
Protocol. Just give me your thoughts on those.
AVAX is meh. Like, I think AVAX has a chance. I'm not going to throw AVAX under the bus. I'm just saying that the best things that have been made on AVAX so far are failures. Like, the things that got the most users, the most coverage, were really put Avalanche on the map, were Wonderland and Olympus DAO. And they both freaking failed. And that is not a vindication, or that is not, to put Avalanche down because the chain and the protocol weren't why they failed. But still, that's what you're known for. I don't know, you guys, do you know what American football is? In Atlanta, we had Atlanta Falcons. It's my favorite team. I want to own the Falcons when we had a player named Michael Vick. Michael Vick did a lot of great, awesome things, like star running quarterback. He, won a lot of games, won some playoff games. But then he did this dogfighting thing, and that's what he was always known for. That was the biggest thing his name was known for. With Avalanche, I just worry about the biggest things they've been known for are 2 gigantic failures, and also a scandal involving one of their lawyers trying to throw other projects under the bus. Like, that's what has gotten Avalanche the most coverage for. So I worry about Avalanche a little bit. The tech, look, I'm not smart enough to tell you whether the tech is superior or not. I'm not a tech guy. I'm not a developer guy. So I can't really make a judgment call on that. I think the tech is good. I think it works. But I think for whatever reason, they're attracting the wrong people to build there. So I do like Algorand. I really like Algorand. I like Cardano. I think Polkadot has got a lot of potential as well. Their interoperability play, we'll just have to see how integral to the blockchain ecosystem solving the interoperability problem is for them. Obviously, they've had a lot of problems with companies that have won their parachain auctions. Akala Network, they won a parachain auction. We were very bullish on them. Had massive problems, massive hack. You look at Moon River. I can't remember if it's Moonbeam or Moon River, which one's on which. I think it was Moon River that won the parachain auction. They had a big problem, so they just don't have a lot of track record of a lot of success on there yet, but I definitely think Polkadot is not one to sleep on. I like Cosmos. I really like Cosmos. I do think that a lot of the underlying tech of Cosmos, a lot of other projects use it, and that's a good sign. So I think it definitely has potential. It's a serial underperformer. So it's one of those things where you look and say, why did Basic Attention Token not do great? It was a great project with great use cases. Just never did well. It had great backers. Just didn't seem to get the traction. Cosmos feels that way. Tezos. People don't really talk about Tezos, right? I mean, how many of y'all are invested in Tezos? Like, very small amount.
Near Protocol.
HBAR, Algorand, I really
Near
Protocol. I think I'm pretty near making a decision on it.
That was
Sorry, that was probably too far.
That was a joke.
That was too
Wasn't
far.
really a joke.
That was a joke too. Too far? Did you get it?
Oh,
Yeah,
gosh.
because it was near and then it was too far.
I get it on the way home.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So near protocol is one I'm interested in for this bull run. I think there's some coins looking at this bull run. We've got to start looking and seeing what are the coins that have got potential to be the next Solanas, to be the next Algorand's, to be the next, massive movers in the market because they get adoption and use and strong community and stuff like that. So we're in a place in crypto where we know who some of the winners are. We know Ethereum's a winner. We know. I think I would tell you I know XRP's a winner. I would tell you Cardano is a winner. I would tell you as much as I hate it, Solana's a winner, right? Solana's not going anywhere as much as it sucks. So we're in a place where we're starting to know who the winners are. You got the next level of those, which is like your Algorand's and your H-bars. I think they've got the potential to elevate to winner, chicken dinner over this bull run. Now you got to start looking for the ones that are the dark horses that people aren't looking at. We were talking about Solana on my channel back in 2019 when they had just opened, I think it was the wormhole protocol thing that they had back then. And we were talking about it. We were talking about it when it was at $2, right? Did I think Solana was going to go as high as it did? No, because Solana actually, believe it or not, launched with really good tech. It's the direction of it that I think has been a problem. But you want to start looking at those dark horses. They could go from nowhere, like hardly anybody knows them except the people that are hardcore crypto. And I think when you're looking at a project like Near Protocol, I think it fits that. Like it's got that same kind of potential. Like Avalanche was one in the last market. It came out of nowhere. It wasn't even, at the beginning of the bull run, it wasn't even around. Like nobody even heard about it. And then before you knew it, it was in the top 20, compete for the top 10. But you also have to be careful of the ones like Terra Luna that do that too, obviously.
Yeah, and speaking of, can we just talk about two events that happened in the past 6 months? Basically, Celsius and Terra Luna. Yeah. What did we both learn from those things? What did the ecosystem learn? You and I both had Alex Mashinsky on our shows.
What a douche.
Yeah, and we bought into what was going on there. What did we learn about what happened there? What's true? What's not true? What do we still have to wait to find out?
Okay, I think we learned two very...
Real talk here.
I'm going to say three very specific lessons that we learned. Number one, first and foremost, most obvious, right? Don't use third-party platforms for your crypto, unless it's a calculated risk by your part, and it's a specific part of your portfolio that you have earmarked for. I don't care if I lose this. If you're earning 12% on an asset you never get back, you're actually earning negative. I don't know if that makes sense to you guys, Kind of like yield farming. If you're earning positive returns on a depreciating asset, you're not actually making money. I don't know. It's hard for people to grasp. I had to live that to learn that, But I think that's the first thing is don't use third party saying. And I'll tell you this, as influencers, as people, I know people hate that word, but I think definitions are cool. So, we are what we are. Like as influencers and people that are prominent in the space, we freaking did a terrible job when it came to Celsius. Universally, with rare exception, there were some Bitcoin maximalists that were against Celsius from the beginning because they had other stuff other than Bitcoin. So by default, they ended up being right. I am a very trusting person. Like I believe if you're a trustworthy person, you're probably way too trusting. If you're a person that cannot be trusted, then you don't trust anybody. I trust too many people. I trusted Alex Mashinsky. I think that was a big mistake. That's the second thing is you can't base your opinions on what you do with your money based on the morality or the integrity of a person that you don't know. Basically, you can only make that judgment call for yourself on who you think you are or people that you know in real life. But Alex Mashinsky, he looked like he walked the walk. He certainly talked the talk. And I think there was a time where he actually meant well. He has turned into basically Satan. Like, what he has done to people that... do y'all know what he did today? Do you know what he did today? Today, he literally dumped his cell tokens everywhere. The cell token was like, their plan to try to repay people. And so today, literally, transaction by transaction, he's dumping his own holdings of cell token. You want to talk about screwing the people that looked up to you and respected you? Like, that freaking sucks. And so I think that's a very important lesson as well. The third lesson I would say is how to do with Terra Luna. I will say this, I've said this a lot of times, I don't think Do Kwon is a bad person. I don't think Do Kwon meant for what happened to happen. I personally was not really that invested. I had $80,000 in that. That might sound like a lot of money to some of you guys. To some of you, if you've seen our portfolio, it was less than 1%, right? It was basically like we just threw it in there. And ironically, I told my CFO to buy more, and he didn't, so that was really good. So we were not hugely invested in Celsius. I was actually glad that we didn't sell it, and we watched our own Terra Luna go to zero, because the community did the same thing. So, like, I certainly would not want to sell it and then have everybody else lose money. That would suck. So it's like a badge of honor to lose that money, in my opinion. I'm glad we lost it. And I think that when it comes to Do Kwon, I'm not making this opinion from a biased place. I'm not. I think, some people accuse me of this, I think he was very cocky. I think he was very cocky, and I think he knew better than everybody else. And people who would come to him with concerns, he wouldn't listen to them. And he'd say, nah, I just don't think I got to worry about that. And I don't think he was malicious. And I made this comparison a lot. It's like in America, if you're in a car accident and it's your fault and someone dies, you get charged with a charge called vehicular manslaughter. It does not matter if it was a complete accident. It didn't matter if there was a bee that flew into your throat and stung your throat right as you're supposed to be looking at a red light, and you run through the red light and you literally are like out of control. If you hit someone and they die, you get charged with murder. Now, it's a much lesser charge than actual homicide, right? But when you're responsible for something that tragic that happens, you have some responsibility whether you meant to or not. So he certainly has some responsibility. He's got to own that. And I think he knows that. I don't think he did anything intentionally, but here's the lesson. Here's the lesson. This is what I learned, and we should all in the crypto space learn this. If there is a vulnerability, it will always be exploited. It will always be exploited. Terra Luna, it had a vulnerability in their tokenomics. And the way that UST pegged, there was a vulnerability. There's always going to be someone to find it, and they're always going to crush you. So look and we can say BlackRock is evil, because BlackRock and Citadel did that, and I believe 100% that they did that. And you know how I know for sure? Because they said they didn't. How many things have they came out and addressed and said, no, we didn't do that? Literally nothing. That's how you know for a fact that they're behind it, okay? So we can get mad at them because they're evil people, which they are, and they want to basically destroy our way of life in the world where we have freedom and privacy. They want to destroy all that for money. So that all sucks. But it was the vulnerability's fault. If it wasn't them, it was going to be somebody else. If it wasn't them, it was going to be a competitor crypto project that found it. It was like, holy crap, we can do this. So when people are raising concerns about your favorite crypto project, you need to listen. It doesn't mean they're all true, but you need to take that information and factor it in to the total sum of parts that go in your decision-making process, if that makes sense.
Yeah, and I think what we saw with Terra Luna was it happened kind of late in the ecosystem where there was a lot of money involved and some risk arbs, guys that I used to know from New York City, like some of the names you mentioned, that could go in there and exploit it and make some money. There's that famous line in Wall Street where Bud Fox says to Gordon Gekko, why are you going to wreck my dad's airplane company? We can make a lot of money together. And he says, I wrecked it because it's wreckable.
Yeah, exactly.
And so if it wasn't them, it would have been someone else because there was something broken in the system and they exploited it. And it's a shame because I think they made $80 million and they lost the market $80 billion.
Yeah.
But that's what these guys do. And if it's not them, it's someone else. And it's a free market. And it's nothing illegal about that. And there'll be people that do that. So you have to build these systems that are going to be able to make it through that. I think you made some good observations there about what we can learn from those people. I don't think there was necessarily malicious intent, but again, maybe that's the moot point. What happened. Now we have to learn from it and keep building.
I think Alex Mashinsky did move to malicious intent, though.
Yeah, I see what
That's
you're
the
saying.
difference. That's the difference. Alex Mashinsky has proven at the end of the day he's a bad person. And I don't think Do Kwon's in the same spot.
Right. No, I appreciate you saying that. Couple final things. Stablecoin regulation in America, and then on to CBDCs. And then I want to ask you a personal question.
I do like you, Brian.
I knew you liked me.
That wasn't the question.
Different question.
So we want to start
Will
with,
you marry me?
who are you marrying? Yes, I will officiate.
That's for the end. Sorry.
Cool. Okay. So stablecoin regulation.
Stablecoin regulation.
Yeah.
And then just thoughts on how that dovetails into CBDCs, at least in America.
Yeah, I mean, I think obviously you can't look at stablecoin regulation in America and not see where this is going, not see this is going to CBDC. There's a proposal right now for an algorithmic stablecoin ban, which I'll be honest with you, I don't think there's an algorithmic stablecoin that is going to probably work in the next 2 years, and it's a 2-year ban. So ultimately, results-wise, I don't think it's that big of a deal, but regulation-wise, they're trying to control everything. The government always capitalize, and not just the government. You look at what Sam Bankman-Fried is trying to do as well with the BIT license. People that are pushing regulation, they're always looking how to capitalize on bad events. Terra Luna was a bad event. UST, algorithmic stablecoin, it was a bad event. So they're using that. They want to come after stablecoins already. If you watch my channel last year, I told you all year long, stablecoins were the thing they wanted to come after. That's it. Before stablecoin regulation lands in the United States, none of this other stuff is going to be sorted out. Like, that is the key to the puzzle. Why? Because the government wants the digital dollar to basically save our fiat system here. And I believe it's USDC. I think you can't talk about the stablecoin regulation without the CBDC. And I think the CBDC is USDC. Who backs USDC? Circle, Goldman Sachs, right? If you look at holdings of these of major companies like BlackRock, what's their number one holding? USDC. So I think there's a lot of, if you go back to Jerome Powell, what kicked off this entire bull run was the previous bull run. There's not one right now, obviously. It'd be nice. But you can actually say Jerome Powell started the bull run and he killed it, really, if you don't think it was Elon Musk. But Jerome Powell in 2020, right around the time that the PayPal announcement came that they were going to integrate crypto purchasing, which Bitcoin, Ethereum, Litecoin, and Bitcoin Cash, what they started with, that's what really supercharged these guys started heading back to all-time highs. Around that same time, Jerome Powell said some really bullish things about crypto and stablecoins. He said that they were considering, when it came to a digital dollar, using the private sector, using something that was already built instead of the government having to build its own CBDC. He said that. You can go look it up. Why do you think Tether is thrown under the bus all the time? Well, number one, Tether did start out as a very sketchy company, but today it's fine. USDC is the move. USDC becomes the United States CBDC, and what does that do? That helps us to kick the can down the road with our fiat system 20 years down the road. Because think about this. DXY is already super high, right? It's already making a resurgence. It's going to fall back. Other currencies are going to start to catch up. And then what's going to happen after we stop raising rates? We're going to go back to quantitative easing, right? We're going to start printing more money. It makes the dollar valueless over time, right? Well, imagine if we go from the U.S. dollar as the world reserve currency, right? Averages, what's the average? I think it's 98 years for a world reserve currency. We're like right at 98 years, right? We're right in the range for it to change. What does it change? Does it change to the euro? It's going to change to the yen? It's going to change to the digital yuan? That's been a disaster. No. It changes. It goes from USD to digital USD. It's its own currency. Now, what does that do? Now, immediately, everyone around the world who has access to a crypto exchange that will have USDC on it is able to buy USDC and have digital dollars like that. There's no difficult process. And now, in this totally like borderless world economy we have, there's more reasons than ever to have one currency that's available for people to use and to buy and exchange very easily. So immediately what you do when you make USDC the world reserve currency is all of a sudden with the United States, we lift our borders and we bring in so much more demand for our dollars. That's the only way to stave off inflation. The only way to stave off inflation is to increase demand, right? So you increase demand, dollar gets very valuable. Then over time, what do we have to do? Well, now we got a whole other range of people that need the dollars. So now we got to print even more. But you're able to kick this fiat system 20 years down the road. People that are telling you our fiat system in the world is crumbling tomorrow, they underestimate the intelligence of governments around the world. You think you're the only person that knows that? Do you think that we're the only people that realize how stupid fiat is? No. They know it too. They're just always trying to develop the road to kick it down the can, or to kick the can down the road many more years. That's why I do believe Bitcoin becomes a world reserve currency one day. it's like 50 years because this is kind of their last play is a digital dollar, in my opinion, to be able to kick it down the road to where it can't be kicked anymore. Then over 20 to 50 years from now, basically people are going to get more used to Bitcoin. It's going to make more sense. And Bitcoin becomes a world reserve currency, not like US dollar, more like gold, right? Like the dollar is backed by gold. No, it's not. It was backed by gold when it was valuable. Now we're going to have assets backed by Bitcoin the same way that our dollars were backed by gold in the beginning, and that produces an entire new economy. We need to lose a lot of these battles in crypto to win the war. That's how I look at it. So I think that your Bitcoin maximalists, like, they get really frustrated that Bitcoin is not used by everyone today, and it's not the world reserve currency today. They're just too myopic. They're just too small-minded on the time frame. Like, for this really to happen, like, guys, people still think Bitcoin's a scam. It's not becoming the world reserve currency tomorrow, right? We got to get through a lot of these steps and a lot of this regulation, but I still do believe ultimately it's financial and technological evolution. It's a better system that works significantly better than the one we have now. It's always going to be implemented, but people are slow to change. And so that's kind of how I see the stablecoin regulation moving to CBDCs, moving to...
So the USDC, which is made by Circle, becomes the US digital dollar. That's your call.
Yeah.
It's a bold call.
I mean, I've said that for 3 years.
This happens in 3 years' time, in 4 years' time?
Well, I think we're closer to 4 years.
Okay.
I have to base a lot of my predictions based on what I said last year. Last year I said I think it's 5 years, so it's a new year, so I can't say 5 years anymore.
Okay.
So I think 3 to 4 years probably is what we're looking at.
Okay. And I like that you're saying, I mean, it's very easy to get into the crypto world and see fiat currency for what it is and expect it should be gone in a few years, but it's not going anywhere anytime soon.
Right.
And if you make your decisions based on that, you're going to be punished for them, just like selling in to a bull market when you think that's the top. And counting fiat out is the wrong idea. Like you said, it'll probably morph into something else, which will be that digital dollar, which means the dollar stays as the reserve currency of the world, like a petrodollar. Now it's a digital dollar, which is what they want. And then you're saying 50 years, probably more like 75, Bitcoin maybe becomes reserve.
Yeah, I think so.
In the future. Okay. All right, we are going to open it up for a couple questions here, but I want to ask Ben a personal question. No, I don't want to marry you, but I do like you a lot.
Oh, thank you.
You're
swell.
I want to talk because I mentioned I talked to you like a year ago, and just want to ask some personal questions because between the two of us, we've got 10 million followers up here, but we also both used to be drug addicts.
True fact.
Hardcore drug addicts.
Hardcore.
And, a lot of people don't like to talk about this stuff, but it's something that I always respected Ben because he was open about it. And I know you also used to work in a clinic and help people on the back of that. I've been pretty honest about my struggles with addiction. About 20 years ago, I made a movie about it called Iron Mind. Tell me, first of all, the looks on people's faces is always crazy when I see people. This was methamphetamine here. Heroin was my choice. Always freaks people out. But the more you talk to people, you realize that a lot of people struggle with various addictions.
Or you know somebody.
Or you know somebody that has an uncle or
overdosed,
father. Why do you talk about it? What have you learned as a person because of that experience? And what is the reaction usually from people?
Yeah, well, I think people ask, a question people ask a lot, it's like, what's the most important day of your life? What's the best day of your life? And like, the canned answer is supposed to be, is when I got married, or the real, especially if you have kids, like the answer you're supposed to say is, oh my God, when my first kid was born, it really changed my life. That's great. Some people, that's true probably. For me, the best day of my life, the greatest day of my life was the day that I went to rehab. Like that was the day. Because without that day, none of the other things happen. I don't hit 1 million subscribers. I don't have a YouTube channel. I don't have 3 kids. I don't get married. I don't have a college degree. I don't do any of those things without going to rehab first. So I went to rehab back in 2007. I had overdosed. I'd been up for 4 days using meth, coke, weed, and then I took 7 hits of acid on top of it. I fought a bunch of police officers, and I got not only overdosed, but also arrested. I woke up in a hospital bed after a coma for 3 days with the breathing tube down in my throat, handcuffed to the bed. Couldn't even go to the bathroom without asking the cop to come unhandcuff me and walk me into the bathroom. It was humiliating. But the first thing I remember thinking when I woke up, like I remember waking up, my overdose was July 29th, so I guess it was like August 1st or August 2nd when I woke up. And I remember like the sun was shining. And I had this, if you've ever had a breathing tube down your throat, like it freaking sucks. Like it's awful. You can't drink any water. Like my mouth was on fire and they would just dab me with a Q-tip. I didn't even know what had happened when I woke up. But all I knew is I woke up and there was sunlight hitting my eyes, and I was like, first I was like, wow, thank God I'm alive. I thought it was over for me. Like I remember when I went into overdose, I passed out on the concrete, had 3 cops on top of me, and I was like, this is it. This is my life. It's over. And so I was surprised that I woke up. And so I was like, very thankful I was alive. The second thought was, holy crap, I need help. You know, like I can't do this. I'm going to die. For a lot of years, because at some point I tried to go into the military and get off drugs. So I went to the Air Force, and I was there for 6 weeks. I made it the very last day of boot camp, and they told me I failed my drug test the first day I got there. So after that, I learned to be a much more responsible drug addict. So I was the worst kind of drug addict, which was a really functional one, because a functional drug addict is always going to eventually overdose and die, you know, because you don't have things pushing you towards the bottom. Like I had a job. I wasn't making great money. I mean, I was making like $14 an hour when I was 21. It was great, you know. That was before inflation really kicked in. That was before we had the parabolic money inflation thing. But like I was doing okay, but I still would just get high all the time. And like people, whenever I was sober, people would think I was high because that was so abnormal. I was only sober like once a week for like a day maybe, you know, while I was recovering. And so I had a lot of problems in my life, and I was very functional as an addict. And it was like a kind of thing when I woke up, like, I can't do this on my own. And so I was in jail for a little bit. You know, I have a very codependent family, so they helped me get out after 2 days. And then I was in the hospital for 8 days. I was in jail for 2 days, and then I went to rehab, and I was there for 10 months. And then I stayed and did a 10-month internship there, and then I worked in recovery. So it's one of these things where obviously, like, without that, my life is not where it is today. And so I'm very thankful for it. And like a lot of people who've been through addiction and actually come out on the other side, which is rare. Like a lot of people, even if they stop using as much, they still like will have mess ups here and there. Like I've been sober now for 15 years, over 15 years now. And you know, you can relapse any time, but I whipped it, you know, like I beat it. A lot of people, they never get to that point. And so just to get to that point, you're very, very fortunate. And then if you get to that point and then you don't use that as motivation to help other people, I just don't think you really got it. And so I worked in recovery. You know, that was what I did before I got into crypto. I was the executive director of a drug rehab facility for teenage boys. And, you know, it's just what I've been passionate about. And the thing is, I remember when I came into crypto full time, like I left that world. And I just remember I was like on an escalator in Atlantic City, where I went to my first crypto conference ever in July 2018. And like, I just heard a voice tell me like, you no longer have to make this the center of your life. Like you no longer have to make addiction the center of your life. Because it was the center of my life for, you know, 11, 12 years. And so I moved on to crypto. But then when I first got into crypto, it was a very empty feeling because I wasn't helping people. And I remember like there were times when my channel was struggling because I didn't always have the most. For 3 years, nobody cared what I had to say. Nobody watched my channel, you know? And so like there were a lot of times I would be depressed and I'd just be really sad because not only was I not successful in what I was doing, but also I wasn't helping people, you know? And then you fast forward to years down the road, and number one, personally, I can help more people than I could ever help before from a philanthropic standpoint, right? I was helping about 10 boys at a time at that program, which over the years is 50, 60, 70, 80 kids, whatever, that's a lot. But it's still very isolated. I can fund 500 kids to go to rehab tomorrow, you know? Like, so I can do from the philanthropic side, I can do more. Then also what we do from a financial perspective, like, yeah, a lot of people are not millionaires this year that were millionaires last year, but I'm pretty sure pound for pound, there's not a channel out there on YouTube that has made more millionaires than ours has. And that's something that we've educated people on crypto. I meet them all the time. Like there are people that took pictures with me out there that said, if it wasn't for you, I wouldn't even be in crypto. Like we're the mainstream channel that a lot of people come in through, and I'm very proud of that. And yes, eventually some people, they get more into trading, so they go watch Carl, or they get more into mining, so they go, you know, to a mining channel, and I'm good with that. Like that's great. I don't mind being the doorway, and then they go other places. But now I help people in like a lot of different ways that I couldn't before. And so there was a time period where it was really hot, really tough, and really hard. But now obviously, you know, just like anything, you know, just something we used to say in rehab, you know, just on the other side of a wall, it's a breakthrough waiting to happen, you know, so.
Really appreciate you being honest about that, Ben. And it's something I always notice when I see you always pushing forward and always being strong. I don't know, I see that kind of former addict mentality there. And for me, I'm always just super grateful to be here. and anything life throws at me was never as bad as the lowest moments I had when I was waking up in a hospital as well. And so I always remember that, and I remember this, and I'm like, come on, this is nowhere near as bad as what I put myself through. And now I've found, ways of creating the person I am to where I don't go back there. But it's still, the greatest thing I've ever done is to get over that,
Yeah.
And it's empowering. For me, it's super empowering, and it makes me, I don't know, sometimes feels like a superpower, almost supernatural sometimes, that I can just do so much. And then maybe I'm here for a reason, and I've got a specific amount of time that I'm here, and I almost wasn't here when I was 30 years old. So it's like, okay, you better go do something important.
Yeah.
And so that's what it was like for me.
And I think it's a strong message for, like, look, you may not struggle with that, but everybody struggles with something.
Yeah.
Everybody's got like something you've been fighting against. Whether it's your financial situation, or whether it's a family problem, or whether it's something, substance abuse or addiction, gambling addiction, leverage trading addiction. Whatever it is, it's something you can get through, and it takes a lot of focus. But you can't just shove stuff to the side. When you got things that are serious, like, you got to treat them like they're serious, or you'll never beat your demons.
Yeah, but you can always change your situation. You can always change even the most destructive behavior patterns. So I think it's a great thing for everybody to remember here. And again, financial ruin can be bad, or financial difficulty, but also when you're waking up, handcuffed to a bed after being assaulted by police officers, that gets pretty bad too.
Yeah, for sure.
Always good to remember that. I don't know if we have time for any questions. I don't see anybody walking around microphones. If we do, if we don't, otherwise you can come up and ask us afterwards. I hope you all found this super helpful. If you want to follow us, I'm at London Real. This is Bitboy Crypto, and these kind of things we talk about on a regular basis. Ben, always a pleasure.
Always.
Love
Always.
the gloves coming off and no holds barred. But give it up for Ben Armstrong. Thank you, guys. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Awesome.
That's fun, man.
How's it going?
Been here in the field because of you, bro.
It's awesome.